What's going on, y'all? It's Tyler. Hope you're doing well. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you've noticed that I made a video on setting up my YouTube studio for 2019, and it already looks different, and that's because I put a blue light back here. So Michael Drowley, thanks for the suggestion on adding a blue light over here. Totally agree. Looks a lot better, more balanced. So definitely appreciate the feedback. I'm gonna leave a link to his channel in the description. So definitely go check out his channel, send him some love, and check out his content. He's got pretty killer content. Super talented filmmaker. So anyways, thanks, Michael. So today I'm talking about the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and the Canon C200. And what I'm really trying to do is this is more of an exploratory video for me than it is anything else, to see if I can match the cameras with regards to color. So I'm shooting in the log format on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, the film gamma, and then I'm shooting on Canon Log 3, just the internal HD 8-bit codec. And I'm just kind of curious to see how the 8-bit holds up into the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and see how well that, if I can push the colors and stuff around. So to keep as many variables down as possible, I've got two L-series lenses on the camera. So I got a 24-105 L-series on the Canon C200, and then the Canon 16-35 L-series lens attached to the Metabones adapter on the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. So not the same lens, but hopefully they're somewhat close in the colors and contrast and stuff like that. So hopefully the only differences really are camera sensors and the color science that Blackmagic and Canon put into their cameras. So I figured for me the best way to set this up is just kind of set this up as like an interview style setup with lights and all that kind of stuff, and having the the extreme blue in the background, just a lots of colors going on and lots of contrasting colors going on in this scene, to see how each of the cameras react to the different colors. I have a feeling that the Canon's gonna make these blues a little bit more magenta, maybe even closer to purple. So I have a feeling that there's going to be some tweaking needing to be made there. But I'm just really curious to see, if we can match up the skin tones and match up the colors in the back and the exposure and everything, to be able to cut between the two cameras and stuff like that. So again, this is more of an exploratory thing than it is anything else for me, and I figured I'd just take you along for the ride. So let's hop into Final Cut Pro and let's see what we can come up with. So here we are in Final Cut Pro, and I've went ahead and just made a multi-cam clip to save some time in the edit, but double click on here so we can kind of see the three different clips. And right here we have the Pocket 4K, and then we have the 8-bit internal recorded C200, and then here's the footage from the C200 with the Ninja 5. So just looking at the log image, already I can tell that it looks like it's leaning a little bit more magenta purple on the C200. And then if we look over here, take a close look over here at this vector scope here, and if I toggle between the two, you can see that the wall, which is basically this right here, it definitely shifts towards purple. So looks like we need to do some work, but I think we're going to be able to get pretty close to matching these up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to come over here and come over to color, and I forgot to mention this in the last video, but you can actually apply a custom LUT this way, and this is actually another good way of applying a LUT, because you can add the mix in if you want. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click this Pocket 4K Film to Studio, and already we've got the look. So it looks like I need to adjust the exposure just a tad, because it looks like my face is just a bit overexposed. So I want to bring that down to really kind of cap out just above the 75 IRE level. So I'm going to adjust that real quick, and I think it's because I set the light up in a rush. I had to tear down everything for a shoot that I had earlier this week, and when I set this back up, I think it was just I think I had set up the light just a little bit different than I did before in a rush, and I didn't think about it until obviously I brought it in here. So I'm just going to bring these highlights down just a little bit. Actually, you know what? I might bring the midtones down just a touch, and then bring down these highlights, and that looks pretty good right there, and I think I'm happy with that. And just to double check, let's crop in right here on the face. and I like that much better than where we were before. Okay, so just a minor adjustment here on the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, and this is going to be kind of where we start, and like I said, this is going to kind of like a reverse engineer to see if the cameras can match, but since I've already got a look for the Pocket 4K, that's what we're going to roll with. So let's hop over to the C200 footage, and let's just look at the internal, because that's going to be the telltale. If I can match this, then, you know, not having to record externally to the Atomos is helpful, or if I record to both and for some reason the Atomos doesn't work, for some reason, if it's corrupted and I have this, then I know that I'm good to go. So let's just work with the internal footage first. So come over here to the color wheels. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the exposure a little bit. So I think the first thing I want to do is maybe bring some of these midtones up or down. And then let's bring some of these highlights back up. And then drop those shadows. Let's boost the saturation a little bit. Maybe bring these highlights back up a little bit. So the next thing I notice that these skin tones are definitely hanging along a little bit more magenta. So I want to bring these down closer to the skin tones line. And so what we can do, let's just kind of make a fake power window in Final Cut. And then let's just drag these midtones over a little bit. It's looking better. Reset. And then I think we're going to have to do some finagling with the shadows and the midtones and the highlights, but for now I think that looks good. And let's grab these shadows and see if we can take some of that purple out. And then let's see if we can bring some highlights in here, maybe more towards the blue. And I feel like now it's a little bit too blue. Let me just bring this master over just a little bit. And I think those midtones could come over just a little bit more. Okay, so I think we're starting out pretty good. And then I still think this blue in the background is definitely a little bit too purple. So I think a way we can fix that is jumping over here to the hue saturation. And then I'm just going to grab this eyedropper tool and maybe grab that right there. And then we're on the hue versus hue. And let's just see if we can maybe bring that a little bit closer to the blue. And already, I mean, that's a pretty close with regards to color. There's a little bit of variation, but even just that right there, I think we're pretty much on the money. I think after that, it's just more of finagling a little bit of contrast. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. See, maybe we can add a little bit more saturation. So let's scroll through where this guitar is. So I like comparing that, and it looks like, yeah, even you can tell in the vector scope, I'm crushing some of these blacks, and it looks like some of that's right here on this guitar. So I wonder if we come back over here, these color wheels, maybe just lift those shadows. Maybe we can compensate with the midtones just a bit. Add in a touch more saturation on the highlights. And then let's see if we can add a curves adjustment. Just maybe add just a touch more contrast. And that's pretty dang close. Even this stripe on this flag right here is matching up pretty solid. And again, that blue line right here on the vector scope, it's definitely a lot closer. I think what we can do is probably come over here to this hue saturation, and then this hue versus saturation, probably just grab that same little section right there. Maybe just add a little bit of saturation. So for an 8-bit codec, that's pretty impressive. Just switching between the two, I'm pretty pleased with the way that both of these turned out. So let's just do a just quick Control-C, Control-Shift-V, paste all this onto the 10-bit footage from the Ninja 5, and just copying those in, and it looks like a little bit more contrast was added to the 10-bit footage, but I mean, these are all pretty dang close. And I think just because I spent more time on the 8-bit footage, it definitely looks closer, but I feel like with a little bit more finesse, which makes sense because there's a ton more color information that in the 10-bit footage that you could get it to match extremely close. But just with the 8-bit, these are matching really, really well. And so what this tells me is when I'm shooting on the Canon, I can even pull more information with the Pocket Cinema camera and push the colors around even more to make it match to the Canon, which is really encouraging. I gotta say though, for $1,300 for the Pocket Cinema camera, I'm just continually amazed at how incredible the footage is from this camera. So anyways, I think this is a pretty close match. Let me know in the comments below what you think, but I'd feel much more comfortable running these cameras side by side. Well, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm pretty impressed that the 8-bit 420 codec out of the HD of the C200 was able to be pushed and pulled around that much using Canon Log 3. I'm pretty impressed. I mean, just by the spec sheet alone, it's a horror story, but I think it looks pretty stinking good. And for the pocket camera, it's just I'm so impressed how well the image looks and how many features it packs for the price. So I'm super stoked about this combo. I think they're really complementary cameras as opposed to this camera versus that camera. So that's not what this video is about. It's just to figure out how they complement each other, and I think it's going to be a really good setup in the future for interviews and stuff like that. So if you found this video helpful, useful, or entertaining, well, you probably didn't find it entertaining. It's probably pretty boring, but if you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you have a C200 and a Pocket Cinema camera 4K, leave a comment below and kind of be interested to hear your thoughts and kind of what you have been finding about the two different cameras. And also definitely consider hitting that subscribe button if you like this content. I'll be posting more content like this in the future, and definitely hit that notification bell next to it so you'll be notified when I post this content in the future. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Peace.